Distraction animal.
A random animal that provides a perceived benefit to dog nutters, the existence of which they erroneously believe counters the fact that dogs are destructive, dysfunctional, intrusive, hyper-aggressive, and a net negative to society.
I seriously can't believe brain-dead dog nutters are still trying to bring up cats and random wild animals as a distraction from dogs. I've pretty much seen it all by now. Idiotic comments like,
"I'll bet you've never lived in a house with parrots."
Or,
"You've obviously never met the field mouse."
well, these ridiculous red herrings no longer surprise me. And seriously, the field mouse? What in the actual fuck is going on in these people's heads? It has to be parasitic brainworms from dogs. I've made like 3 or 4 other videos and countless posts addressing this. First off, those animals simply aren't causing problems like dogs are. And here's the thing as well. Even if some of them were, dogs are obviously still trash and should not be given a pass. Furthermore, ignoring the problems caused by dogs on the basis of other problems in society would be like a murderer trying to say that their crime should be overlooked because other people are also murderers. Actually, it would be more like someone harboring a murderer, or perhaps a terrorist, trying to distract others from them. And in this specific case, they would point to something that actually isn't even an issue, like non-violent citizens who aren't even really doing anything. That is what it is like when dog worshippers bring up other pets, which is not to suggest there aren't any problems with pet ownership or pet culture in general, because there certainly are. But by and large, pets besides dogs just aren't causing problems the way dogs are. And I specifically focus on dogs because they're the pet animal with the greatest impact on our lives. They're also the only animals regularly encountered in human settlements, towns, cities, villages, etc., that cause a number of very serious problems for people. And these are problems of the kind you can't exactly ignore. When dog defenders bring up wildlife animals, which most of us will likely never encounter, or other pets which most people only have to be around if they enter the homes of their owners, they're trying to distract us. They're trying to change the topic. Perhaps the most frequently brought up distraction animal is cats. Distraction animal. I might start using that more often. This is actually a thing, unlike an emotional support animal. Here's a basic definition. Distraction animal.
A random animal that provides a perceived benefit to dog nutters, the existence of which they erroneously believe counters the fact that dogs are destructive, dysfunctional, intrusive, hyper-aggressive, and a net negative to society. By bringing up a distraction animal of his or her choice, the dog nutter falsely believes he or she can somehow make others forget about the variety of issues caused solely and uniquely by dogs, including waste generation, environmental degradation, unprovoked aggression and unprompted violence, disturbance of the peace, and much more.
But here's the point. Literally anything you think a cat does that's bad, dogs easily do far worse, and then some. But also, you can oppose 2 things at once. So, before we get into the ridiculousness of bringing up cats to distract from how shit dogs are, let's remember there's no weird binary choice between liking dogs or liking cats. Hating dogs has nothing to do with cats and should not be taken as an endorsement of their ownership. But also, it should not be assumed that just because we hate dogs, that we hate any other animals other than dogs, unless we have told you we do. It's really not that difficult, and I have no idea why so many dog apologists inject so much irrelevant nonsense into the discussion. I've lost track of the amount of times I've seen this nonsense brought up over and over again. My channel has nothing to do with cats, and everything to do with rejecting the presence of dogs in society. Do you understand how that works yet, dog nutters? So, here it is. Some mindless dog worshipper recently made this ridiculous comment.
Dogs can't take a dump on the kitchen stove like cats will do.
Now, that's a weird way to phrase it. Saying, like cats will do. This is implying that it's something cats are well known for or something, but in reality, this is practically unheard of. I'm not saying it's never happened, but this is not even a behavior that's common to, or typical of, domestic house cats. By contrast, all the things mentioned in that video, and others, these behaviors are all common to and typical of dogs. A dog will put its filthy paws up on a kitchen counter or stove and eat the food you foolishly left out. Not only that, but dogs have actually started house fires because of their gluttony and food obsession, by trying to lick grease or food residue left on a stove, or perhaps by trying to get into some food its nutter owner stupidly left out. And seriously, anything you say a cat will do, a dog can easily do several times worse and a lot more. Now, if you don't want your house to smell like a litter box, or if you don't want to own an animal that could potentially get on your counters, just don't own a cat. But also, don't own an animal that's easily far dirtier, more destructive, and more food-motivated. Anyways, here it is. Oh, you say the whittle-bitty kitty scratched up your furniture? Okay, but dogs tear couches and clothes to shreds, and they will also do this to your walls and electronics, and you can't resolve this issue by declawing them. You don't like the sounds cats make? Well, if you don't live with a cat, you never have to hear it, unless you for some reason live in an alley next to a cat colony or something unusual like that, I suppose. Meanwhile, neighbors a mile away can hear your bark bag producing an unnecessary sound no other animal produces in the same persistent manner. And yes, Nutter, I do realize that other canines can bark, and I require no lesson on this, but they seldom do in adulthood. You say you hate cats because you can't easily dominate them or force them to do stupid tricks? Well, many dogs are untrainable. Despite their reputation as easily trainable companion animals or whatever, and you really don't have to train cats all that much to make them less dangerous, gross, or inappropriate than they naturally are in terms of their typical default behavior. Most cats have instincts to bury their waste. Only male unneutered cats have occasional issues with marking, but, once again, the territorial behavior of dogs is far worse. After all, it can include them wanting to tear your neighbors' throats out for literally no reason. Spoiler alert, domestic cats don't try to kill human adults, unlike large dogs and some smaller dogs when they're in packs. And the reason dogs do this shit? Simple, because it is in their nature to do so, which makes them unfit as pets. Full stop. Anything that might try to kill a person at random, that is not a pet. And for the record, being in their own driveway, walking by behind the house on the public sidewalk, going for a jog, or bringing you your mail, none of these are justifiable causes for that monster you call a pet to randomly launch assaults against other people. It's no excuse for your violent mutt to vocally menace them or physically attack them if they can manage it. And don't try to tell me dogs never do this stuff or that it's rare. There are countless cases of documented dog attacks, and new cases appear literally every day. Plus, many people experience the dog's unique brand of mindless mutant aggression, which can definitely manifest in the form of its pointless, abrasive barking along with lunging from behind a fence, and they never report it. You can't even compare stray dogs to stray cats. All you have to do is walk towards a cat, and it will run or hide the instant it detects your potential encroachment. Whereas you have to carry pepper spray or a gun, or perhaps a blade, and wear steel toes because of loose dogs. Many of these are even just pet dogs. They're just as aggressive as feral untrained dogs, or formerly owned dogs that went feral a long time ago. You claim litter boxes smell? Well, I will actually agree that they can stink up a house or apartment. I've lived in houses with them, but I was never nose blind to this the way dog nutters are about dogs' smell. And that's another thing. Dogs stink to high hell. They absolutely reek. There's no denying that potent dog stench. It takes a lot to combat it, and cats themselves don't ever smell particularly bad. Certainly, it is not as potent, unless they're living outside and unwashed for extended periods. You can bathe a dog and it may in fact smell worse. Cat fur or dander. People are allergic to dogs too, just not quite as often, but it can be far more severe, and dogs objectively shed a hell of a lot more. Cats don't generally attack people, although there are always rare exceptions. But if you really want to deter an aggressive cat, it's a lot easier than trying to deter a sizable dog that's hell-bent on chewing your face off. For some dogs, you need a gun and armor, and they will do far more than just warn you with a hiss or swat at you only if you get within a few meters of them. And really, if you want to talk about vocalization, just listen to a dog bark for any longer than 10 seconds. This is the sound of torture. Dogs will defecate and urinate inside unless trained diligently not to, shed and drool all over, drag their nasty anuses all across your floor and carpet, and lick your floor and leave mucus and saliva all over car and house windows, excrete all sorts of effluvia in general, and track in dirt and germs every day and eat their literal shit. Also, cats do not insist on licking your face constantly. That is so revolting and off-putting. How do you nutters tolerate it? No, some of you even enjoy this shit because you're wired wrong. Cats similarly don't bother people or approach them uninvited, but dogs have to be trained extensively to not be so intrusive. In the rare case where a cat may approach people without reservations, it is a friendly cat that's accustomed to being fed, and it still won't encroach upon you the way a dog will. And this is not an aggressive behavior. Seriously, don't even talk about cats being dangerous, because it is very difficult to find a single case of a domestic house cat directly and deliberately killing a person, especially an adult, whereas people of all ages are constantly being attacked, maimed, disfigured for life, even killed by dogs. Again, this is happening all the time, all across the world,